Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to show you guys how I made these sourdough pretzel bites. These are so delicious with a dip on the side or alone. So let's get started. This is my beautiful sourdough starter doughy. Look at her. Let's give her a moment because without her, I wouldn't be making these videos. Anyways, look at how active she is. She's so beautiful, bubbly. I love her. So we're going to start off by adding 100 grams of active sourdough starter. This isn't a discard recipe, so this dough will be fermented and getting long fermented in the refrigerator. So we're going to add 260 grams of water. We're going to mix these two ingredients together as always, just to make sure that there are no clumps of starter left over in the bowl. Little pieces are fine, but not huge chunks. If your water is warm, the starter will dissolve even easier. So we're going to add 30 grams of sugar and 10 grams of salt. I like to mix everything together before adding the flour, making sure that everything is dissolved into the water. And then we go ahead and add 500 grams of flour. You can use bread flour, you can use all-purpose flour, as long as it's unbleached. And then we're going to mix everything together again. I like to start mixing everything with my spatula until almost everything is incorporated. This dough is a bit on the dry side, so you will have to go in there with your hands. You can use a stand mixer as well, but I like to show you guys that you don't need any fancy equipment to make delicious recipes. So once I have everything mostly incorporated with my spatula, I go in there with my hands and I knead it with my knuckles. I feel like this is the best way that I can make sure that everything is incorporated. And then I go ahead and do some slap and folds, as you can see here. I pick up my dough and I slap it into the bowl, not too hard, just enough. And I do this for about 5 minutes just to make sure that everything is well incorporated. So once you're done kneading your dough or doing the slap and folds, whatever it is you like to do, you will shape it into a ball just to make sure you can see the rise of the dough. I always like to, make it into a ball. I let it bulk ferment on the counter until it doubled in size. And then I put it in the refrigerator overnight so it can do a cold proof. And then this is what it looked like after the cold proof. You want your dough to be a little bit on the cold side when you shape it into the little pretzel bites. So if you want to use this dough the same day, you can let it double in size, put it in the refrigerator for like 30 minutes, and then you can do the next few steps. I just like to do a cold proof just because of the benefits, but you don't have to. So now you put your dough onto a mat or any clean surface, and I like to use my rolling pin to shape my dough into a rectangle. This is the best way that I like to do it. There are other methods of shaping your pretzel bites, but do whichever you prefer. This is just the way that I like to do it. This step is very easy because the dough is cold, so it doesn't stick to anything, so you don't need any extra flour or none of that. Once you have your dough into a rectangle, nice and even, you are going to want to get a bench scraper or a pizza cutter. I don't have a pizza cutter, so I just use a bench scraper. And I just cut little like rectangles, little squares. You can make your pretzel bites as big as you want. I like them a bit on the smaller side because I like them more on the crunchy side. But if you like them more on the soft side, just make them bigger. So here I am just cutting my dough to the best of my ability. They're not perfect, but I am going to be rolling these into a little ball just to make them into the little pretzel bites. But you can leave them this shape or just roll them up into a ball like I'm doing here. The little balls don't have to be perfect. They don't have to be super smooth. If they have little cracks on them, that's perfectly fine. It'll give them that pretzel vibe, pretzel look, you know what I mean? So just go ahead and shape your dough into a little ball. These are very tiny, by the way, so these are nice and crunchy. So if you want them more on the soft side, like I mentioned, just make them bigger. Or don't make them into a ball, just leave them into a thick rectangle. So once you are ready, you are going to have hot boiling water with some baking soda, and you are going to drop your pretzel bites in there. I leave them for a few seconds, maximum of 30 seconds, just because I don't want a super thick crust. But if you like that thick crust on a pretzel, go ahead and leave it a little bit longer, especially if your pretzel bites are bigger than mine. Since mine are smaller, I don't want them to have a thick layer, if you know what I mean. So I like to have a sheet tray next to my pot with some parchment paper, and I like to put my dough straight on it right after taking out of the water. So that's why I like to have this set up. It makes it so much easier. So here sometimes I notice that my pretzel bites start to float. And as soon as they float, I feel like that's an indication that they're ready. Well, to me. So if you want to follow the same thing, you can do the same thing. You can see here some little pretzel bites just randomly start to pop up. As I'm doing this, I have my oven preheating to 400 degrees. I was actually going to make a cheese sauce to show you guys the recipe here in this video until I realized that I was out of cheese. I was kind of disappointed because I really wanted to show you guys that cheese dip because I feel like a pretzel bite and a cheese dip go so well together. But anyways, we ended up using ranch to eat these pretzel bites and they were so good. We couldn't stop eating them and they were basically gone. So once you're done with this step right here, I am going to put an egg wash over all of the pretzel bites. I just use one egg and a splash of water, making sure that I don't overly put the egg wash over the pretzel bites because then they're gonna stick to the parchment paper or have little like pieces of egg on the side all cooked. So now you can add your topping of choice. I ended up going with the everything bagel seasoning. You can put flaky sea salt on here or some cinnamon sugar, anything you like. Just put it on here on top of the egg wash, and then you will bake your pretzel bites for 25 minutes. If you want them a little bit on the darker side, a little bit more brown, you can add an additional 5 minutes, but it's really up to you. They're fully baked at 25 minutes, and this is what they look like when they get out of the oven. They're so toasty, they look so crunchy and so delicious. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Give this recipe a try and let me know what you think. I want to thank you so much for watching, and if you made it to the end of the video, thank you so much. I'll see you guys in my next one.